Hello, Tim from Fairplay Now on the 9th of March 2023. Looks like the John O'Looney video that I put up yesterday went down well. I think many people have now seen that, and yeah, wasn't it a great talk from John? So much truth, so many truth bombs there, and as I keep saying, if you want to know what's going on as far as deaths are concerned and how many people are dying is concerned, well, what better person to ask than a funeral director? And if a funeral director is telling you that his trade wasn't particularly great in 2020 and then exploded in 21 and 22 and recently gone quiet again, well, that kind of says quite a lot, doesn't it? I'm not going to go into too many details. I'll let you work those out. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with that. But it strikes me what we need to do is three things. First of all, number one, we need to destroy the whole Lurgy narrative. Coming along nicely, don't you think? I don't think there's many people around now who think that the whole Lurgy thing in 2020, 21 was what it was made out to be in those times. I think more and more people now are realising that it's been just basically one big con. I know many people have felt like that from day one, or not long after day one, like me, and many more people have been waking up to that fact kind of in the intervening period up to now. But yeah, it's pretty much going mainstream, isn't it? How sort of most people now, I don't think, really buy it. So that's the first thing we've got to do, and that's, as I say, coming on nicely. The second thing is destroying the whole Big V narrative. Again, that's coming on nicely. I don't think there's hardly anyone now who is going to have the latest Rooster Booster. I don't think there's really many people at all who's going to go for that. Maybe some of the most brainwashed people will, but hardly anyone, I don't think. Certainly no one under the age of, no one under the age of 75 is even going to be offered it. And I think even the over 75s, so many of those won't be going for it either. And then the third sort of big thing that we need to slay in their kind of arsenal of nonsense is the whole climate thing. If we can take that apart, then that will just really destroy the powers that be and their whole narrative and their whole drive towards world tyranny. And again, I think that's coming on quite nicely, whereas even a year or two ago, most people wouldn't have questioned that. I think more and more people now are questioning, is there really a problem with the climate? Yeah, I don't really think so somehow. So I think that is coming along nicely. And you know what, it doesn't take a huge amount to sink these sort of massive things, does it? You might think it's a real impossible task to destroy the globalist narrative, regarding all of these things, the climate change thing, the Lurgy thing, the Big V thing, etc. But yeah, it doesn't need many holes to sink a gigantic ship, does it? Take the Titanic, for instance. It was sunk, wasn't it? A massive, supposedly unsinkable ship, sunk just by about a 300-foot long series of gashes, probably only about 2 or 3 foot wide in places. And that took the whole ship down, didn't it? As tragic as that was, A bit of a tragic metaphor there, but comparison there. But it doesn't take as much as you might think to take these things down. And I think we in the sort of freedom movement are progressing very, very nicely indeed. So I saw an article in the mainstream media just now, and they were saying how $400 billion were spent on the muzzles during 2020 to 2022, the useless old masks. And they then compared that to a figure that would end world hunger. And they kind of said that that figure would be about $330 billion would literally end world hunger. So bearing in mind, this is from the mainstream media, and also there's that number 33, so in there, isn't there, sort of 330 billion pounds. So I don't quite know where they get these figures from, but it's interesting, isn't it, how the mainstream media are sort of really getting going on destroying their own narrative from a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, last year, or even just very recently. And you do have to wonder what the aim of it all is, what they're trying to achieve. But the way I look at it, if the lockdown narrative is destroyed, if the Lurgy narrative is destroyed, I don't know what the purpose is, but the way I see things is, if it prevents another lockdown ever happening again, it's going to be a good thing. If it prevents people from being fooled by another Lurgy again, that's a good thing. And anything that sort of helps to wake people up to the nonsense that we've had to endure over the last 3 years, in my book, is a good thing. You may or may not agree with that, but that is how I would look at it. And they do seem to be hell-bent on destroying the whole muzzle narrative as well, with headlines like that, which, if that prevents any more sort of muzzle mandates from happening in the future or ever again, that is kind of welcomed by me. So that would be my take on it. Not sure what the overall agenda is with all of these reveals is concerned, where we're going with that. But if it helps to prevent any of this nonsense from ever happening again, that's got to be a good thing. And that kind of brings me back, there's people in the mainstream media even calling for the arrest of Matt Hancock, isn't there? But one thing that other truthers are saying, and that's one thing I would reiterate as well myself, is we can't let the powers that shouldn't be throw Hancock under a bus and just let him take all of the heat. We have to remember that he was only a cog, probably only a small to medium-sized cog as well, in a big machine that foisted all of this absolute nonsense on us. And if people are going to be thrown under the bus, if people are going to be thrown into prison, face courts, courts and all of the that kind of thing, we need to be getting all of these other people in there as well. Johnson, Whitty, Vallance, Fauci, all of the American and worldwide politicians who have been sort of up to the same kind of shenanigans, Sturgeon in Scotland, Drakeford in Wales, etc., etc. All of these people need to sort of be held to account. And we also need, the opposition, Keir Starmer and the Labour Party shouldn't be let off the hook either. They're just as bad, in fact, they were sort of screaming I remember them screaming at the time, sort of, why aren't you looking down sooner? Why aren't you looking down harder? Just before the government did lock us down. So they were the most pathetic opposition we've ever seen as far as that was concerned, and they have proven themselves to be absolutely and utterly unfit for office, especially when you couple that with Starmer's reveal from the other week that when he was given the choice of, you know, who do you support, Davos or Westminster, and he sort of said, oh, Davos. Well, you know, that to me makes him utterly unfit to be the next Prime Minister, and the Labour Party, I think, are utterly unfit to sort of form a government, and that also obviously goes for the current lot. I want to see them out, but I don't want to see Labour coming in. So really, who do you vote for? You know, independence is, I'm hoping there's going to be a lot more independent candidates in all of the constituencies in the next general election. I think that is really the only kind of person I'd want to vote for now. So yeah, my thoughts are kind of going all over the place in these in this video at the moment, aren't they? But I thought I'd just vent my spleen, and I have picked up a few new subscribers over the last 24 hours. The last video from yesterday seemed to be very popular, and it's got me a few new subscribers, so welcome to the channel. And if there's one thought I can give to people is, and I know anyone or most people watching this probably already know this, but I just keep reiterating it: just never trust the government. It doesn't matter who's in office. Don't trust the government. Don't trust mainstream media. They're all a bunch of liars. They don't have the people's interests at heart. They're just working to hidden agendas and for their own self-interest. And I'm afraid what we, the people, want comes a very poor third to that. So as I've said in these videos, not recently, but quite a while ago, most people out there, their default position is to believe the government, to believe the mainstream media until proven otherwise, kind of thing. My default position is to not believe them, to just automatically take what they're saying as a load of BS, and again, until proven otherwise. But as other people in the freedom movement I sort of like to say, a good rule of thumb is to take anything that the mainstream media or the government, especially the government and politicians, anything they say, and flip it around 180 degrees, and that will get you probably quite a lot nearer to the truth. So, been a little bit of a ramble today, tackling or talking about various different things, but I do like to just let my thoughts just run sometimes in these videos. It's been a kind of a long, hard, busy day for me today, and sometimes when I get home, my head just wants to explode a load of thoughts out, and that's what I sometimes do in these videos. So gonna leave it there though, and I'll be back tomorrow. Tim from Fair Play Now, thanks for watching.